You feel it before you can name it. A scratchy throat, a dull ache behind your eyes. That heavy, dragging sensation that tells your body something is wrong. Your first instinct is to reach for a pill, book a doctor's appointment, or at least check your symptoms online. You live in an age where sickness has a protocol. But here is the thing. That protocol is almost brand new. For 99% of human existence, there were no pills, no appointments, no search engines, and yet your ancestors survived. Not just survived, thrived. Crossed continents, built civilizations, raised children who raised more children who eventually raised you. So what did they actually do when they got sick? The answer is far stranger, far smarter, and far more connected to your body than you ever expected. Start with the basics: pain, fever, fatigue. You experience these as problems to be solved, something to suppress, push through, or medicate away. Ancient humans experienced them differently, not as failures of the body, but as signals from it. Anthropologist Paul Turk proposed something called the biological utility of sickness, arguing that the symptoms of illness are not the disease itself. They are the body fighting. When you develop a fever, your core temperature rises not randomly, but strategically. Research by Matthew Kluger at the Lovelace Biomedical Research Institute demonstrated that fever is an evolved immune response. The heat slows bacterial replication. It speeds up white blood cell activity. It is your body creating an environment hostile to the invader. Ancient humans did not suppress fever. They wrapped themselves in animal skins, huddled near fire, and let it burn. Fatigue worked the same way. The crushing tiredness you feel when ill forces you to rest, to stop moving, to conserve every calorie your immune system desperately needs. Your ancestors obeyed this signal completely. There was no work that could not wait, no meeting that could not be missed. When the body demanded stillness, stillness was given. And the immune system, freed from the energy demands of movement, hunted. But your ancestors did not only wait, they reached for the world around them. The plant world is a pharmacy. You know this in the abstract. But the depth of ancient pharmaceutical knowledge would stun you. Archaeologist Jeff Bendramer, studying sites across North America, found evidence of medicinal plant use dating back over 10,000 years. Willow bark, which contains salicin, the compound from which aspirin was later synthesized, was chewed by cultures across 4 separate continents, none of whom had any contact with each other. They arrived at the same medicine independently because the same evidence kept pointing them there: pain relief, reduced swelling, faster recovery. This was not mysticism. This was empirical science conducted without a laboratory, observation, trial. Memory passed down through generations. Your ancestors were running the longest clinical trial in human history, and the successful remedies were the ones that survived into tradition. The ones that did not work simply vanished. Natural selection applied to knowledge. In ancient Egypt, physicians documented over 800 medicinal remedies on the Ebers Papyrus, a document dating to around 1550 BCE but drawing on knowledge centuries older still. They used honey as an antibacterial wound dressing. They used garlic, which contains allicin, to fight infection. They used moldy bread on open wounds, a practice that now sounds like accident, but was actually systematic. The antibacterial properties of certain molds, the ones that would later lead to the discovery of penicillin, were being harnessed 3,000 years before Alexander Fleming ever looked through a microscope. Across the ancient world, similar patterns emerged. In ancient China, healers documented the use of artemisia plants for fever. Artemisinin, derived from that same plant family, is today one of the most effective treatments for malaria. In India, Ayurvedic practitioners used turmeric for inflammation, ginger for nausea, and neem for infection. Every one of these has now been verified by modern biochemical analysis. The ancients were not guessing. They were observing, refining, and remembering with extraordinary precision. And then there was the body of the healer themselves. In nearly every early human society, illness had a social dimension that modern medicine has almost entirely stripped away. When you are sick today, you are often isolated. You stay home, you rest alone, you interact with a doctor for 15 minutes and a pharmacy for 5. But ancient humans were sick together. The role of the healer, the shaman, the medicine woman, or the village elder who knew the plants was not simply pharmaceutical. It was relational. Researcher Kiermaier, in his work on indigenous healing traditions, identified what he called the therapeutic encounter, the idea that being witnessed in suffering, being cared for by a known and trusted member of your community, triggers a cascade of neurological and immune responses that no pill can replicate. Cortisol drops, oxytocin rises, the body shifts from threat response to recovery mode. This is not soft thinking, this is measurable biology. Touch, specifically the sustained touch of caregiving, increases natural killer cell activity. It raises immunoglobulin A levels in saliva. It literally makes your immune system stronger. Ancient humans did not isolate the sick. They surrounded them. There is something else your ancestors understood that modern medicine is only beginning to rediscover. The role of the gut. Long before the term microbiome existed, ancient people were fermenting food, not for pleasure, for survival. Every culture that left a significant archaeological or written record practiced some form of fermentation. Kefir in the Caucasus, kimchi in Korea, kvass in Eastern Europe, injera in Ethiopia, kombucha along the ancient Silk Road. Fermented foods kept gut flora alive and diverse during illness. They replaced what a sick body often lost. And a stable, diverse gut microbiome, as researcher Justin Sonnenburg at Stanford has extensively documented, is directly correlated with immune strength, mental resilience, and recovery speed. Your ancestors were unknowingly dosing themselves with probiotics every single day, and especially when they were ill. Water, too, was understood as medicine, not in the abstract spiritual sense alone, though that was also present, but practically. Cultures across the ancient world directed the sick toward mineral springs. The Romans built entire institutions around therapeutic bathing. Native American healing traditions incorporated sweat lodges, not for ceremony alone, but as tools for driving fever, expelling toxins through the skin, and then cooling the body in cold water to shock the immune system into heightened activity. Modern research on hydrotherapy, the deliberate cycling between heat and cold, has validated this approach. It increases white blood cell count, it accelerates circulation, it triggers the release of norepinephrine, a powerful anti-inflammatory compound your own body manufactures on demand. Your ancestors were activating the system with fire and cold river water thousands of years before anyone understood why. There is a harder truth buried in all of this. Ancient humans also died, often from things you would survive with a single course of antibiotics. Infection killed at terrifying rates. Childbirth was lethal. Tooth decay, left untreated, became sepsis. The wonder is not that they had no medicine. The wonder is how sophisticated their medicine actually was, given what they had to work with, how much they observed, retained, transmitted, and refined over thousands of years of careful, desperate attention to the sick body. Medical anthropologist Arthur Kleinman spent decades studying healing traditions across cultures and arrived at a conclusion that unsettled many in his field. He found that patient outcomes in traditional healing systems, when measured across communities over time, were often comparable to outcomes in early Western medicine, not because traditional medicine was as powerful, but because traditional medicine understood something that early clinical models missed entirely: the person, the relationship, the meaning the sick body holds within a community. Healing is not only biochemical, it is deeply, stubbornly, irreducibly human. You probably do not chew willow bark. You probably do not sit in a sweat lodge when your fever climbs. You probably do not eat fermented foods every day or let your neighbors hold your hand while you recover. But some part of your body still speaks that ancient language. When someone you love sits with you while you are sick, your immune system responds. When you rest properly instead of pushing through, your recovery shortens. When you eat well during illness, rather than surviving on nothing, your body repairs faster. The protocols have changed, the biology has not. Tonight, if you feel that familiar heaviness settling into your bones, your body is doing exactly what it has always done. It is fighting. It is signaling. It is asking you to listen. And somewhere inside that ancient, elegant machinery, your ancestors are watching, and they already know what to do.